Hey everybody, it's Dr. Joe's in the house on this wonderful Wealth Wednesday, and today we're going to be talking about uh, why burnout really, and why many, especially new investors or even seasoned investors, they start all gung ho, ready to go, and then after a while, they just get burnt out. Things aren't working the way they thought it would work in terms of real estate investing. They get frustrated, and in the end, they just say, "To hell with this! I'm not doing this. I'm going to do Amway or eBay, where it's easier, and things like that." So it's just burnout. It can happen to anybody, whether you're new, intermediate, or seasoned. And I'll just speak to some investors about that. And I thought it would be a good topic for me to discuss, and therein lies today. So we're going to talk about burnout and strategies to avoid burnout, and what you can do to continue on your journey towards hopefully financial independence, and some of the things to avoid, which will kind of derail you from that chosen path that you've selected for. So as usual, I broke into 6 parts, but before I get too far, if you want to book a one-on-one with me where we can do a deep dive into any topic, any subject, any issues that you're facing, any problems that you're experiencing, you can leverage on my 30 years experiences and book a one-on-one. Go to my website, www.joeasimo.com, www.joeasimo.com, and schedule a one-on-one for about an hour. And hopefully I can leverage, my experiences to help you out. So let's get back down to the topic at hand, and so on. So burnout and why investors hit the wall. And so I'm going to kind of start with a little introduction here. For many people, they're starting investing, but after a while, it feels like they're going nowhere fast. I think many real estate investors are lured, especially on late night TV or social media, about the promise of passive income, freedom, financial independence, long term wealth. All these things are sort of promised through real estate investing. So, but behind the scenes, after all is said and done, there's pressure, to acquire properties, manage renovations, oversee tenants, and sort of keep your financial house in order. These are all the things that's going on. And that managing and juggling all those, balls in the air can lead to burnout. And which really is in my opinion, one of the most underestimated threats to your portfolio and to your financial freedom. So it's not just about being tired. Yeah, it's not about tiredness. Burnout can derail. It really can derail your progress. It can trigger poor decisions, and even in extreme cases, force you to just say, "To hell with this, I'm out," and sort of quit. So whether you're just starting out as a new investor, whether you're intermediate, managing the growth, or even have an empire, understanding how to recognize and respond to burnout, I think, is important. And in fact, it's almost essential for your long-term success. That's what we're going to focus on today. So the emotional weight of juggling many roles, managing debt, navigating renovations, putting out daily fires, it can wear you down. And even for the most ambitious person. And sometimes you question, should I really, is this really what I want to do? So the emotional weight of juggling all those things, and the glamour of real estate is kind of, changed to the reality of long hours, tough conversations, pressure, and in increasing your portfolio. So so anyway, so essentially that's what we're going to talk about today. Burnout doesn't discriminate; it happens to all of us. It beginners trying to get momentum, the seasoned investor is trying to build a portfolio, and also the big investors in total as well. So this live stream, what we're going to do is to focus on how you hopefully can prevent that crash happening to you. It's not just about the theory. I'm going to sprinkle in there some real world scenarios, things that I've experienced, and also experiences that other people have had, and to kind of bring it home to you. As usual, I've broken into 6 parts, and and each part will have some action items at the end of each section, which hopefully can you can take action and do things towards addressing the issue as well. So 6 parts. And we're going to start off with part number one, which is wearing too many hats. That's one of the reasons why people get burnt out. It's just wearing too many hats, trying to do too many things. So the question is, are you the CEO, the janitor, and everything else between you? You know, in essence, you're trying to do it all. In the early stages, yes, many investors take on all the roles, every role there is: bookkeeper, contractor, leasing agent, landlord. They take it on. While this hustle mindset is admirable, it looks good. It's really not sustainable. Believe me, I've tried it. It's not as sustainable. You get burnt out real fast. Managing too many responsibilities with no delegation, it forces you to become the bottleneck, and it slows the growth, and also erodes your decision making sort of clarity. Successful investors, what I found is that you at some point need to identify your highest value activities and try to start outsourcing the rest. I mean, I've done the books, I've done the admin, the filing, trying to fix plumbing leaks and trying to, pick up my contractors from the Home Depot. I mean, I've tried it all. At the end, it's just, you think you're saving money, but you're really not. So what starts off with, I'll just do it to save money, it becomes a trap that consumes time, and it can consume energy as well. So you end up fixing toilets at midnight, like I've done, chasing rent payments, like I've done, managing rehab projects, like I've done, reviewing lease agreements, like I've done, only to realize that your portfolio isn't growing because you're just too busy working in the business as opposed to on the business. One investor shared with me, he lost two great opportunities, two good deals, because he was just too busy doing other stuff, doing minor plumbing work, or fixing blinds. A deal came to his desk, or to his laptop, I suppose, or to his computer, and he was just too busy, and too busy doing other stuff. And those deals went, somebody else took it, and it's gone. So so the idea is that if you can, and you need to at some point, start thinking about hiring part-time assistants, and possibly outsourcing some tasks that you feel uncomfortable with. Now, you can have an assistant that's local, and you can have an assistant that's virtual. I have several assistants now who are primarily virtual, and some of them are not even in this country. Two of them, one's in Canada, and my bookkeeper and my I suppose my main administrator or admin is in Ghana. They're not even in the US, but we work virtually, and it's taken a lot of the weight off my shoulders so I can focus on more of the things which only I can do. So delegating tasks doesn't mean losing control. No, it just means creating room to lead effectively. Knowing when to hire, automate, or partner, I think is crucial for staying out of that burnout zone. So what are the action items associated with wearing too many hats? List your current responsibilities and identify low value tasks to delegate. Hire a virtual assistant, handyman, or property manager to reduce your workload. These are things that you can do. Invest in some software tools for bookkeeping, tenant screening, scheduling, and also schedule weekly reviews to focus solely on strategy and not tasks. You're working on your business, not so much in the business. Okay, so that's number one. And another cause of burnout is what I call the renovation trap. The renovation trap, and this is when every project it just drains your time and energy. I've done major projects from $350,000, $500,000 rehabs, all the way down to $20,000 rehabs, and they can be draining, especially if you don't find good contractors. If you don't have good team members, it can be an exercise in frustration. So renovations typically, this is where timelines, and budgets go to die. The excitement of transforming a property quickly fades when dealing with delays, change orders, unreliable contractors. The emotional and financial drain on you can be very, very significant. Inexperienced investors often underestimate the time, the money, and the mental bandwidth that's required even to manage quote unquote simple renovation jobs. If you're having challenges with simple renovation jobs, you wait until you go to mid-level or major renovations when there's just so many things going on and that you have to track and you have to keep in order, that it can quickly get out of control if you're not careful. So missed deadlines turn into missed rents, budget overruns, turn into a profitable deal, turns a profitable deal into a financial setback. And if you're managing multiple projects, without systems, the stress can really compound very quickly. One investor shared with me that their third flip, left them emotionally exhausted, completely exhausted due to, managing multiple contractors, and some of these contractors stopped showing up work. There was constant change orders, the budgets were overrun, and cash flow was tight. He was running out of money. The hard money lender was giving him a hard time. It just compounded and compounded, and where he's just emotionally exhausted. Okay, so another learned the hard way to always build a contingency, 10%, 20% contingency, and and also visit the site on a regular basis just to make sure that it's moving, make sure the contractors are doing what they're supposed to do, and so on. So systems, not effort, in my opinion, can save you from burnout. Systems, if this happens, you do that. If this happens, you do that, and so forth. And those pre-screened contractors, to pre-screen contractors, document everything if you can, and stick to the written scope of work. If you can do all those different things, you can avoid chaos, frustration, and stress. I'm not saying it'll go away, but it can just be reduced. So, they plan for the unexpected, and not just hope for the best. We go in there with your eyes open, knowing that not everything's going to be going out perfectly, and you have contingencies in place. I mean, a scenario would be like yesterday. In fact, we walked one of the properties which one of my students is going to be buying in Washington, D.C. We met with the contractors. We went through the scope of work, went through different scenarios. If this happens, what we're going to do. We talked about the timeline. We talked about the, if the contingencies, the problems that could occur, and what we're going to do if we encounter some of those things. We talked about how we're going to oversee the project, meeting on a weekly basis. What's the purpose of the meetings? I mean, we went through that in all details beforehand, okay, such that hopefully once the project starts, it's going to be a lot smoother without all those issues and so on. So what are the action items associated with a renovation trap? Well, use detailed scopes of work and signed agreements before starting any work. Pre-screen contractors, again, contractors can make or break any renovations. Establish clear communications expectations. I recommend that once the project starts, you visit the project site weekly, or even use video check-ins if you can. And also include contingencies, 10%, 20% contingencies in every project, for those unforeseen things, miscellaneous things that will definitely crop up. Okay, number 3, tenant management mayhem. Tenant management. That's another cause of mayhem, burnout, is issues with tenants. Tenants. Yeah, you know the drill. The question is, are your tenants calling you? Your tenants calling you more than your family is calling you? Okay, so tenant issues, I think, is one of the biggest hidden causes of burnout. Unscreened tenants from hell, late night calls, unresolved conflicts, turn passive income into a nightmare. But the key isn't to micromanage tenants. I'm not saying you should, micromanage the tenants. No, it's to screen and establish systems in place. Screening is the key, because many times tenants have histories, and your job as a landlord or a housing provider is to understand that history, screen thoroughly, such that you know exactly who you're renting to, and that way, hopefully, you can avoid problems coming in. Because so without proper vetting, you may end up managing tenants who can't or won't follow the lease agreement. They can't or won't pay the rent. They can't or won't take care of the house. They can't or won't leave a pleasant environment. It can be grueling having the wrong tenants in your house. So without systems in place, even good tenants become a source of daily interruptions. From lost rent checks to maintenance complaints to noise disputes, everything lands in your lap, and you have to now deal with it. And you're dealing with the human beings, so you have to deal with that other emotional component which some people have. A seasoned investor, once had to evict 3 tenants in a row. I mean, I haven't done that. I don't think I've done an eviction about 12 years now. And evictions are very stressful. You don't want to go there if you can avoid it. And the reason why they had so many evictions is because they did shortcuts on the screening process, the leasing process. They just wanted to get somebody in there so they can get some income. And so they got somebody in there. But after a month or two, they stopped paying rent, or after a month or two, they started causing, trouble. And now it's too late. Okay, so, but if you implement a clear tenant screening onboarding process and protocols, you can really significantly drop your eviction rate. I mean, I said before, I haven't had an eviction in 12 years, and most of my tenants tend to stay a long time. So I have that loss, I have less turnovers. And you can do that by having the right systems in place and managing the relationships and nurturing the relationship with your tenants. Long-term success from managing expectations from day one. Having strong leases, that's an important point, and also regular check-ins. It can turn you into a proactive landlord rather than a reactive landlord just trying to fight fires all the time, which eventually will burn you out. So what are some of the action items associated with tenant management mayhem? Create a tenant screening checklist with income, credit, and background criteria. What are you looking for from an income, credit, and background? Use online portals for rent collections and maintenance requests. Do quarterly property check-ins, not just annual inspections. And offer tenant satisfaction incentives to encourage lease renewals. So that's number 3. And kind of halfway through. And well, this is not live today, so you can't put any words in the chat box. But again, if you want to book a one-on-one with me where we can deep dive into any issues and problems and challenges you're facing, go to my website, www.joeasamoah.com. Press the link Ask Dr. Joe, and I'll be more than happy to see what I can do to help you out and leverage my 35 plus years experience. Okay, so let's move on to number 4. Money. Stress and cash flow crunches. Money, stress, and cash flow crunches. It's all about the money, or the lack of money anyway. Do you lose sleep worrying about cash flow or surprise expenses? I'm sure some of you are having sleepless nights over, how am I going to pay this bill? Or, why aren't these tenants paying me? I still got the mortgage to pay. I'm having cash flow problems. Even the profitable portfolios can create financial stress if cash flow is mismanaged. Okay. Irregular income, tenants don't pay you. Unexpected repairs, things go wrong. And debt servicing, mortgages have to be paid, can lead to constant anxiety. Many investors operate without a true understanding of their monthly obligations, what's needed every month, and also they don't have a cushion to absorb any shortfalls. For example, if a tenant leaves, now you're losing that income. The debt still has to get serviced, but there's no cash flow, there's no reserves. So now they're scurrying around trying to figure out how they're going to bridge that gap. So when rent doesn't come in, or a furnace goes out, panic sets in. And it's in these moments that the burnout accelerates. It really can do. One investor shared with me, missing a few rent payments, caused panic to set in. And and these are just mind-numbing, burnout-accelerating activities. It really drained them out, and where they want to just sell the house and be done with it. Another, especially this happened during the COVID times, if you remember, where sometimes tenants didn't want to pay you or couldn't pay you, or the laws were against you. And many people lost their homes because the rents weren't coming in. They had these things called rent strikes or cancel rent, and all these kind of things was going on. But mortgages still had to get paid. And it wasn't easy. I did Section 8, so Section 8 wasn't so bad because I still had rental income coming through, even if the tenants weren't able to pay. So I know one investor shared with me that they missed out on a few months' rent payments, and they just were struggling, and I don't think they ever get over it. So that's why it's important to have some operating reserves. I suggest you have between 3 and 6 months of rental rents in reserves for these rainy day situations, because it will allow you to survive, during these difficult times. And also, you may want to consider when interest rates go down, if and when. Yes, but you may want to consider refinancing if you got high interest rate loans. And that way you can reduce your monthly debt service payments. You can lower your monthly payments. So you don't have to be rich to be prepared. No, you just need to have systems for managing reserves, budgeting for vacancies, and reviewing your numbers monthly. They all can make a difference. Again, managing reserves, budgeting for vacancies. Vacancies do happen, and reviewing your monthly numbers on a regular monthly basis. It really can make the difference. So what's the action items here? Maintain 3 to 6 months of operating reserves for each property. Analyze your portfolio's monthly cash flow using a simple spreadsheet or some kind of software, and also plan for 5 to 10% vacancies and 10 to 15% maintenance costs on the annual basis. Okay, well, annually. But fortunately, I don't have 5 to 10% vacancies. I tend to have very low. I think I'm about 1 or 2%, or about 1% or less than 1%. Vacancies, but it can make a huge difference. In terms of your managing your money and also managing your stress level, financial stress level. Okay, number 5. This is another one, especially today. The comparison curse, the curse of comparison. I suppose what I'm talking about here is sort of, are you measuring your journey, or are you measuring yourself against somebody else's, Instagram reels or social media feed or whatever it is? Social media and real estate forums are full of investors bragging about how, I did this, or how, look at me, I'm doing all this stuff. And you kind of look at your situation and wonder, well, am I keeping up? Am I, what's wrong with me? And, this creates sort of, social media really can create unrealistic expectations and also internal pressure to grow fast. Many investors over leverage or rush into bad deals just to quote unquote keep up. In my opinion, comparisons rob joy, clarity, and also it's just not necessary to compare yourself with other people. It's your journey, and buy and hold, which is what I do, takes time. I've had properties that I've owned for 10, 15, 20 years, 30 years, and 35 years. It's a long game. At the time when I bought these houses, they were expensive, but 5, 10, 15, 20 years later, I wish I bought more during that time. It's a long game, and you can't expect to, especially if you're doing a buy and hold model, expect to hit the jackpot all the time, especially in the short term. So it's try to forget about your goals, try to adopt somebody else's timeline. It's your timeline, it's your goals, it's your journey. And a young investor, for example, he got burnt out just trying to scale 10 10 properties a year. Why? Because he watched YouTube. He saw some influencer saying, "Yeah, I'm doing 20 houses a year." So he thought, well, if he can do 20 houses a year, maybe I can do 10 without systems. And he crashed and burned. He admitted that the sleep, the stress, the sleepless nights, and the financial strain, it just wasn't worth the quote unquote likes and shares. The best investors move at their own pace, grounded in their goals, not in somebody else's goals. Sustainable growth, which is really what we want, comes from focus and discipline and not an ego. Okay. I don't have an ego. I don't think you need to have an ego. It's not necessary trying to impress people. It's not. I very seldom tell people what I'm up to. Very seldom do I, brag and show off. No, it's not necessary. It's just not. Uh, that's just me anyway. Action items. Define your personal real estate investing why. Why you're doing this and your long-term vision. Avoid comparing your journey with others on social media. Celebrate incremental wins like a successful rehab or a lease renewal. And review your goals on a quarterly basis to ensure that you're aligning, what you're doing with your goals, with your values, and also with your bandwidth. And finally, number 6 is broken systems and DIY overload. Broken systems and DIY overload can be a major reason why people get burnt out. So the question is, are you reinventing the wheel with every new deal? Are you reinventing the wheel, or have you figured it out and you have systems in place? Most burnouts, in my opinion, stem from poor systems or no systems at all. When every tenant moves in or moves out, a project needs to be rehabbed or rent needs to be collected, the process is ad hoc. It's like seat of the pants stuff. It's just trying to figure it out. Is something different today? Is different tomorrow? You waste a lot of energy and you also create chaos. Without systems, you're reacting instead of leading, and every task becomes a new decision. And new decisions, every problem becomes a new crisis. You spend more time managing the same issues over and over again, repeatedly, than building your business forward. One seasoned investor, I know, avoided burnout. How? By documenting repeatable processes from tenant onboarding to contractor bids. You can create templates, checklists, so team members, can step in without confusion. Templates, tech tools, SOPs, standard operating procedures, are really the difference between being an operator and an owner. Systems don't eliminate work. They don't. What they do, though, is allow you to scale. And so what are the action items out of this? Reinventing the wheel, avoiding reinventing the wheel on every new deal. Build templates for tenant communications, leasing, and contractor bids. Use a property management platform to automate rent collection and maintenance. And also create SOPs, standard operating procedures, for all key processes. And then finally, conclusion: sustainable success over the long haul. Sustainable success over the long haul. Burnout isn't a badge of honor. You don't want to be bragging, I'm burnt out. No, it means that something is wrong. Okay. It's a warning sign that your business model needs a tune up. In my opinion, the most successful real estate investors aren't just good at deals. They're masters of sustainability. They can stand the test of time. They can hang in there. They can be around in 5, 10, 15, 20 years. That's what, in my opinion, is success. You have to be able to get to the finish line. They delegate, they systemize, they budget, and they grow at a pace that matches their lifestyle and also their long-term goals. There are many times I was just buying one house a year, a couple of houses a year. It's okay. You don't need to buy 20 houses a day. They learned that often the hard way, that doing it all alone without clear systems or boundaries leads to frustrations, fatigue, and financial failure. Okay. So whether you're on your first deal or your 50th deal, the message is still the same. Don't wait to hit the wall before you make a change. Don't wait until you crash and burn. No, by adopting the lessons shared in this live stream, you can build a real estate business that not only pays the bills, in my opinion, but gives you the time, the energy, and the fulfillment that you were chasing when you first started, first started this journey. So tune into other Wealth Wednesday events. I'm going to have live streams for deeper insights into real life examples and practical tools to help you avoid burnout and grow your portfolio with confidence. So with that said and done, my friends, that is the end of this week's Wealth Wednesday. I'll see you next week. Have a good week.